next 1 to 2 minutes. So just allow me a minute to set the things up, and then we start the session. Right. Hey, hi folks. Good morning. Let's wait for 2 more minutes, and then we start at 11:03 or 11:04. Yeah. All right, folks. Good morning. Now looks like we have the audience in the room. I'll go ahead and share the screen. Okay. So, folks, today's session we're going to understand how PM landscape is evolving, and how the shift that we are talking about is happening across the industry, right? What are the different facets of it, and how you can ensure that you are prepping yourself for the same. So we're going to talk about that in today's session, and also like how can you go about preparing for AI interviews. And they're not going to be like typical questions as we do in product sense execution strategy questions. They're going to be a lot more related to subject matter expertise. And folks, before I go and share my screen, there are a lot of nuances of today's session. It would depend on the type of audience that we have in the room, right? So can I please request if you guys please start with introducing yourself in the chat. Probably we can start with your name, and the name is, I think we can see from the name tag. I think you can start with your role, which company you're from, and which city you are in, so we can understand, okay, the variety of the audience as well. because there's one aspect of this session wherein if we have like a lot more folks towards entry level, I can also cover a case study about helping you understand like the importance of PMs as in so it's good or important for me to understand the vibe of the audience. Probably I'll start myself, and my name is Akhil, and I'm from founding team at Product Space, and I'm in Bangalore. Okay. Okay, we have Rahul. Rahul is a technical product manager at Capgemini. Rahul, were you already part of the Advanced A program? Okay, I think we could have different two roles. Okay, so we have Srivastav. She is efficiency product manager. Nitin. Nitin is in IIM Mumbai. All right. Okay, so this Rahul is different. I think the other Rahul is also having the same name, but that's okay. Okay, we have Ravi, who's working in project in core banking TCS. Nikhil. Okay, we have like a lot of folks who are already in a corporate ecosystem, and I believe you'd be understanding what PMs do. Okay, delivery head at with Accenture Pune. That's interesting. Let me put my devices on silent. Okay. Okay, we have Sujit. Sujit is a senior PM at yeah, senior PM at okay B2B SaaS company. Okay, okay. So looks like we have yeah, Rahul. Yeah, actually he has like same full name and like first name and last name as well. So that's why I got confused. Okay, so it looks like we have a lot of PM audience here. So let me go ahead and start the session. Just give me a minute. All right. All right, I'm removing all the clutter. I'm closing my WhatsApps, putting my phones on silent because this has to be, kind of silent task at least for next 1 hour. So, all right, let's start sharing my screen. Okay, here we are. All right. So in today's session, we are going to learn or understand like how to crack PM roles. And I would request everyone to please be on mute. If you have questions, feel free to please raise your hand. Then I'll definitely come back to you as well. So folks, before starting the session, quick introduction about myself. I'm Akhil, and I'm from the founding team at Product Space. Previously, I have worked as a senior PM at Magicbricks, and before that, I was working as a senior PM in Reliance Retail. And before that, I have been also working in banking industry. Like my first role in product was in Axis Bank, and then I joined Kotak, and then this Reliance Magic Bricks journey. And yeah, then there was a little bit of a parallel building, as in looking into a passion project and all. And now we're doing this like a full time. So that's where my credits goes in. And I've already upskilled almost 2,000 plus folks in our flagship program and advanced A program that we are recently running, which we have started like 6 months back. We were like one of the first company in India to run cohort-based program in advanced AI, like after a couple of Maven launches. Yeah, we have already upskilled like 400 plus, senior industry working professionals. I'll also show you the profiles of some of the folks that have trusted product space in terms of upskilling themselves in advanced AI. So we'll probably talk about it towards the end of the session. All right, now let's go ahead and start this interaction. So folks, this is like rough outline of today's session. We are trying to understand the differentiation of traditional PM versus AI PM, and we're also going to talk about okay how market is changing, like the folks who are prepared for AI roles, how it is different, and I'll also talk about a lot of JD mention of like AI requirements, and also show you like of course this is super prevalent in like man companies or tier one companies, but this is also happening in India as well. I'll show you one recent example of probably 3 days back. One of our cohort member was giving a product interview in one of the Indian company. I'll talk about it as well as we go along, right? So you'll understand like all the companies at least have realized that AI has come in at least in the form this time that it is going to stay, and it's just a matter of fact like at what speed companies would start adopting advanced AI or generative AI in their product roadmap, right? And the moment that starts happening, then there would be definitely one of the critical requirement, like are you AI skilled or not, right? And we'll also look at a couple of interview questions. If the time permits, then I'll also solve one AI interview question along with you in this session. We have like 1 hour only, but I'll try to be super crisp and to the point. And yeah, I'll also touch base upon, okay, how this interviewing domain is changing and how can you prepare. Awesome. All right, let's move forward. So before probably deep diving into roles are changing and all, let's understand generative AI for product managers or working professionals. So this is roughly the the roadmap that looks like, which is, I'm sure many of you are would be here at a let's say crawl stage, wherein crawl stage, I'll quickly explain. Crawl stage is something wherein you just know how to use tools. If you know how to use tools, it doesn't mean you have a lot of differentiator. That is something which is like, Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Sheet, right? So these tools have like had widest adoption in the industry. Look at their growth life cycle. So if you know tools, you're just at a crawling stage. You can probably call yourself as AI powered working professionals, wherein you're using these tools to improve productivity. In many of the times, or in companies, you would not be able to use these tools because they are not permitted within specific enterprise, but they might be good to learn, I would say, in terms of your live projects, or you're just parallelly building some proactive projects and all, right? So if you know the generative AI at a tool level, then you are at a crawling stage, right? Walking stage would come in wherein you start knowing and you start deploying your AI understanding in building products and solutions, right? I'll give you a couple of examples. Let's say you want to build a product for a creative industry. Let's say you are a AI PM at Jio Cinema or Netflix, right? And of course, if you are a PM in this entire ecosystem, which is more about creativity, you would want your LLMs to give you more creative output, right? You would want it to kind of leverage that creative wisdom that it would give you, so that your overall content and production and everything could wow the audience, right? But all these models that we are using at a crawling stage in form of the tools, they are like trained on default parameters, right? The moment you have to customize for your specific products, you need to know and go towards the nuances of it, right? So if you are working as a AIPM in Netflix, for example, then how would you go about fine tuning your LLM so that it basically talks more about productivity? Another example you can understand, let's say you are a PM in health tech or fintech industry, or a working professional, right, in either of these industry. And if you are definitely belonging from these sector of the economy, then definitely you can't expect your output to be probabilistic. You would want it to be more deterministic, wherein you don't want it to be, let's say, kind of superficial on just random probabilities. You want it to be as accurate as possible, right? So in this case, even if you're deploying any AI model, whether it's a classical ML, whether it's generative ML, generative AI, you have to ensure that how do you fine tune your LLMs or your SLMs, which is small language models, which are like quite prevalent now, as well, and your ACPs, MCPs, agentic structures and all. How do you fine tune them so that they are able to kind of not compromise on the user experiences, and also at the end of the day able to meet the or deliver the solutions for which they have been deployed, right? So how do you bring that balance is something which would take your journey from crawling to a walking stage. From walking stage is something wherein you understand the nuances and how these models are working end to end, and how you also understand, like, for specific use case in a product life cycle or a user journey where you could fit AI in, right? Once you have that deeper understanding, you have built, let's say, some projects on your own wherein there's a full stack kind of product without engineers, without developers, and it's and designers as well, and it's like working in the market, right? A run stage is something wherein you deploy the walk level knowledge to an enterprise scale, right? And wherein, like, you don't just rely on product like chat gpts. You would start working on base models wherein you would train your own models, right? So when you're own training your own models, of course, fine tuning everything I've talked about, but then let's say, how do you go about responsibly training? I can give you one simple example. If you go to ChatGPT and ask it like, "Hey, can you tell me the recipe to create bomb?" or "Can you tell me like which story I should jump from so that I'll die?" Right? So it would not give you the answer of it because it's responsibly trained, right? So when you are, let's say, deploying these products at scale, how do you handle these edge cases? This is like probably an extreme end of the edge cases. Another edge case could be, let's say, you don't want your generative AI ecosystem to reveal the data of other users, or you don't want your AI ecosystem to reveal the data of, let's say, your API credentials and all, right? So how do you put those barriers? How do you go about building a product which is like end-to-end crisp, wherein it's just not about, simple prompting, which, trust me, literally anyone and everyone can do it. But if you are trying to call yourself as AI powered PMs or AI PMs, you have to be damn sure that you understand the technology behind it, and you understand like how does it work, and you have the capability and that deeper understanding of kind of fine tuning and customizing it as per your own use case, right? So this is the journey which has to be, if you want to. And guys, one thing I would say that we are for sure going through an industry shift, right? And sooner or later, for sure, everyone has to kind of upskill themselves in AI. I'm sure many of you at least heard about the stories when computers came in the market, right? So when they came in the market, a lot of people have I would say widespread industries and countries have raised question that, hey, what would happen to the human labor, right? But then what we have end up seeing is like the complete kind of revolution of the industry. There's new lines of business, new means of working has opened up, right? But that is something which is also going to happen with AI as well, of course, because it is going to help you immensely in improving productivity. It would kind of result in like a lot more nuances, and companies delivering a lot more in a limited time frame. That also I'll talk about it as we go along, right? But it is not to, let's say, take you out of the job. It will for sure take you out of the job if you're not upskilling yourself, because based on my experience in last 3 months, how hiring is happening in the industry, there are a lot of companies who have open PM hirings or any other kind of role hiring. If anyone has like AI project portfolio or working knowledge of AI products, they are being super prioritized, right? So okay, now let's move forward in the session. All right. Okay, now we are going to talk a little bit about the shift, which is like from traditional PM to AI PM or AI powered PM. See, what traditional PM does, right? So traditional PM is largely looks across these 4 cycles, which is discovery, define, development, and delivery, right? And which is something, if you further divide it, it then comes into like who, like in terms of who the user is, and then what, like how long your product backlog is, or how you're doing the discovery, and then comes like why, which is where you're prioritizing stuff, right? And then comes the when, which is like once you prioritize, okay, you have 10 features that you want to build to ensure that you'll be able to meet business or management goals. Then comes like when do you want to solve it? Do you want to pick 2 features at a time? Do you want to pick like third feature 3 months down the line, which is basically part of the road mapping, right? This is what generally the traditional PMing does, and I'm not deep diving much into it because I'm assuming that many of you already understand how PMing works, right? So how this role will change, see, in traditional kind of ecosystem, right? How PMs were different because we were trying to bring that human aspect, which probably AIs can't do, right? Which is like the judgment, right? Or as a product manager or a product leader, we're trying to bring the aspect of identifying those unmet needs or empathizing with the users, right? The AIs are still not able to do it, right? Which is mostly the discovery part of it, right? The delivery part of it, which is like more about designing and delivery, which we've already started seeing like a lot of AI products have coming in the market, and they're already like doing a lot of these steps in a fast-paced way, right? So that is one way wherein this entire ecosystem is changing. But in traditional PMing, the goal was to build successful products, right? But if anyone is thinking that okay, the jobs will go, or a product manager would do the job of a designer or would do the job of a, let's say, engineer, this is not how does it work, because your products are not just like small piece of a feature, right? It's an end-to-end workflow. There's like a lot of continuous iterations keeps on happening. You also have to keep yourself updated with the industry, right? Of course, the roles would shrink or roles would evolve as well, and responsibilities would also grow. That is something I'm going to talk about in the next slide, right? But this role is something which is going to stay because it has that angle which kind of makes it super different from any other roles in the market, which is like you're trying to bring that judgment. Because if AI start doing everything, right, how would company A would be different from company B, right? I'm sure everyone has decent amount of money that they can probably buy or hire decent amount of LLMs, which could do like operationalize a lot of things, right? But when it comes to decisioning, who would take that decision? Who would give the direction to AI or tools that, hey, do this, right? If you have, let's say, if you're doing discovery using AI, it would, let's say, scour the internet and give you like 20-pager document, right? But that 20-pager documents would have like, let's say, 5,000 task points, right? Would you go ahead and start building everything, right? So that is where the nuance of PMing would come in, wherein you would let's say, be able to fast track a lot of things and then very less amount of time. But then how would you kind of go about still using your judgment? In fact, I'll tell you about one case study. Spotify came in Indian market and became a market leader in like just like 3 years, right? And when Spotify came in, I think Hangama was also there, Savan was also there. There were like similar music streaming players, and Ghana was also there. And I think some of it is still there. Some of them either merging to ensure that they are staying alive in the industry, right? So what Spotify did differently? Ultimately, if you look at the fundamental use case, it ended up solving for the same use case, which is like helping users find the music, right? But what Spotify did differently, okay, I'm not going to deep dive into the case study, but what I'm saying is like it identified the user needs in a lot more different way that their competitors could not do, right? And that is where it changed the game, and it executed well. And that is where your human judgment, or the way you're prioritizing, the way you are doing the product research or user research, or empathizing with the users, have differentiated Spotify from the market. And then it ended up, I think it's also a global leader in music streaming as well, right? So PMing is going to stay, but a lot of things that PMs used to do on a regular basis, on a daily basis, that is something which is going to change to a decent extent, right? Now, let's quickly look into the shift as well, right? In which paradigm or which aspects the shift would happen, right? The first is faster execution. For example, let's say you are, a product manager at Google Pay, and you want to build a app for, let's say, budgeting, right? And if you want to build an app for budgeting, you definitely can't start going and copying 10 features from a competitors and you start building it, right? Because then where would your moat would come from, or how would you position it? Like there's a lot of strategy questions as well you have to answer once you start kind of start on like new charters on new products as well, right? So of course the AI would help you do the faster discovery, right? You would have ideally taken, like, let's say 3 months, 2 months, or hiring an agency to do a proper market research or a competitor research. These tools are out there in the market, which will probably do it like in probably in a minute or in an hour, depending on how deeper the research you want them to do, right? But once that research comes in, it definitely has shrinked your 30 days task to 1 day, right? It has like immense increase in productivity, right? But once that discovery outcome comes in, you as a product manager or a senior PM or a product leader still have to decide out of that discovery, how would you prioritize, right? And of course, many of you might think that, okay, AI can also prioritize. Now, let me share my experience. See, prioritization is something which can't be templatized. We see like a lot of framework like RISE, Moscow, Value Effort, and XYZ. I think 100 other frameworks are out there, right? In my experience, I have never used any framework in prioritizing in the ecosystem. Because when you're operating at an organization level, right, you have to find the right balance between objectivity, subjectivity, all the internal constraints that you have, the management goals that you want to achieve, right? So there are a lot of factors comes in, and for AI to understand everything at once, that's extremely impossible, right? So that is where that human judgment that I was talking about is going to come into the picture, and going to make your company's, let's say, product roadmap different than the similar competitor industry in the market, right? So things will be, I would say, super fast execute. In fact, I'll show you my screen. I would want to share one thing. Okay, this is basically part of the ways of working. Okay, I'll talk about it and then I'll share my screen as well. So see, nowadays how PMs used to work, right? So first, let's say we have prioritized X number of features, and then we are having the stakeholder meetings, and then we are trying to present, okay, this is the document of this feature one, and this is what the feature does and all, right? And I'll tell you what happened with me and many of my colleagues, right? See, the first thing that you face from the stakeholder in the room is negative questions in a way that, okay, this is not good, right? Or why you're doing it, right? So in that loop, what happens, there are like so many meetings keep on happening. If you try to bring something new in the company or want to change something, there are a lot of thoughts already lost, right? And with AI coming in, what you can do, like, you don't present your PRDs, you present your workable product prototypes, right? You're not just sharing, okay, random, probably 1,000 character or 1,000 words, 2,000 words document, which like no one wants to read. In fact, no one even reads except the critical stakeholders whose job is to get the insights from it or get the sense out of it. So instead of showing those PRDs, you can probably showcase, okay, this problem I want to solve, and this is like a working product. Okay, this is how it will kind of work, and if users are like going through this journey, this is the problem it will be solving, right? how it'll help, because if you're showing something in action, it'll be worth more than, I would say, 1,000 meetings, right? It'll save a lot of time in convincing stakeholders. In fact, if you know AI in a I would say a lot, I would say at a deeper level. So what can happen in those meetings? Let's say our stakeholder is giving a suggestion, right? And if you know how do you operate these products at a really decent level, right? So you can make those change right in front of them or in that meeting and show, okay, this is the revised version looks like, right? So the way, we used to work, it would change. Let's say to designers, we used to have like grooming meetings wherein we used to share, we used to share that, okay, this is the requirement document, this is where we are expecting the user flow has to be, and this is like competition references and all. On the other hand, what you can do is, I have let's say created this using Wizzly. All right. So instead of sharing this product design requirements, what I can do is like I can go about sharing them entire prototype or a working prototype, right? And this is something I just created in seconds. Why you could see that the design is like super well. It's like extended version of the homepage because of the prompting. But if you look into this, right? Instead of just sharing the requirement document, I've also shared, okay, what I am expecting could be a better design to bring, I would say, superb user experience, right? So these, if you do this probably design grooming meeting this way, the your interaction or the quality of output that would be coming, or the number of iterations that are required for you to work with designers, they'll immensely reduce, right? So the ways of working is going to be definitely changing. Yes, there's one challenge right now which all the companies are facing in terms of data privacy, right? If they go ahead and start using products like Lovable and N, which are like, openly available in platforms, right? So, how would they protect their data, right? Of course, once everything goes on internet, like it's just, protected for the sake of protecting, right? But then how do they, put a decent layer to it? So there are, I think, a lot of extended enterprise level products are also coming in, right? Okay. Now let's talk about the third aspect, which is increase in responsibilities, right? Okay. Earlier, if I talk about the current ecosystem wherein the AI has not been adopted in the market, APMs or PMs largely been kind of hired for execution, wherein you ensure that, okay, there's a proper documenting happening, you are doing a proper research, there's this execution level of layer is being completely interested towards entry level product managers, APMs, PMs, to a certain extent, SPM as well in some companies, because the hierarchy varies depending on how long your product charter is, right? But what would happen is, like, now with AI coming in, if you're already adopted AI, your execution would be super fast. Whatever things you used to do in like 30 days, you would be able to do in like 1 day, 2 day, 3 days max, depending on the complexity of the use case, right? Now, if you're able to do, let's say, 30 days work in 3 days, right, you'd have like 27 days time, right? You definitely want to fill it, right? With that, what will happen is, like, you'd have additional responsibilities. PMing role is definitely going to stay. The additional responsibilities could be in terms of, let's say, you are handling the role of project manager as well. Project manager is like not a bad role, it's good role, but it's more about handling execution end to end, resource planning and all, right? And that could be one facet of role, right? It might happen in some companies, it might not happen in some companies. It depends how the specific org is adopting it, right? But what could for sure happen is, like, let's say APMs are supposed to do execution, and let's say PMs are supposed to do strategy, prioritization, or road mapping, right? So that upper level or upper layer in hierarchy work might shift down the line, right? Wherein now the APMs, PMs would be kind of now expected to deliver more on strategy, prioritization, road mapping, and ensuring that they have, I would say, larger pie of ownership, right? So you'd also see that there's decent kind of change might happen in industry in terms of increase in responsibilities. And yeah, that is going to happen because if you have a lot of time. And now the fourth, which is more important aspect, which is like reduce staffing or more pods, right? Okay, I have like both the arguments for both of these. So reduce staffing means, like, let's say right now in a pod, right? Pod is a structure which is like largely owning a charter, and wherein it's a mix of a product manager, engineers, QAs, and designers, right? And okay, so right now in a pod, roughly there's one PM and 8 to 9 engineers and one designer, and then probably 1 to 2 QA, depending on how much QAing is required. And what will happen, instead of like having 10 to 12 folks in teams, if AI is actually be adopted in the right way, there would be max 3 to 4 people in the team, in a pod, right? And of course PM was already one, so you can't get rid of PM to rahega, PM would be there, right? And of course design roles might shrink, because if it is evolving in a way, if the design products who are in their version 0, version 1 are able to build superb prototypes and all, just imagine what would happen to designing, let's say after version 5 of design, product changes, right? So there's the good chance that PMs might end up creating prototypes, but there will always be someone at the center of designing to ensure that the company brand guidelines and all that design sense and everything is being followed. But that's like, probably some way down the line, might not happen very soon. Okay, so that is something which would happen. Like from 10 folks, there might be 3 or 4 folks in the team, right? But the companies like who are on aggressive growth, or who have got like a lot of Japanese uncles investment, right? They would have like multiple more pods created, because now earlier 10 people were handling a pod, now 3 people would handle it, but the nature of work is more, so you'd have like more people working in different charters, and you could experiment faster, right? And that is the ability which generative AI would for sure give you, right? So this is where we think, and this is whatever I've shared. I have interacted a lot with quite, I would say, seniors in the industry, like who is VP of product, director of product, and many of them were a part of our advanced AI program as well. And this is where, kind of largely mimicking their thoughts as well. And this is something which also logically makes sense how the domain is going to change, because when calculators came in, a lot of folks think that, okay, what will happen to mathematicians? They all survived. They all started doing great work, or I would say more advanced work, more towards statistics and classical machine learning and all, right? When computers came in, a lot of folks thought, okay, what would happen to me? Human labor. Now we have like entire world talking about IT industry. Now probably in the next 5 years, I don't know what will happen, but definitely AI would for sure be there. One challenge with AI is generative AI is like it's probabilistic in nature. So in some industries there could be late adoption, but in some industries wherein that is something which is going to act as a positive, they might go ahead and adopt soon, right? Okay, moving forward. Now let's quickly look into the more nuances of how this role is going to change and what all would be expected probably from an AI PM. And this AI PM is not AI powered PM, because I don't believe AI powered PM kuch hota hai. It's just like you're using X set of tools to do your work in a faster way, right? And that's a fancy word of calling it AI powered PM, right? So the how would the market would be expecting you to deliver is like, be a core stakeholder in terms of contributing in building AI products from scratch, right? Okay, now let's look into these points one by one. Okay, now the first is like earlier, like in the current ecosystem, everyone have very clearly mentioned that, okay, you definitely need to have a tech understanding, because as a PM, your core responsibility is to ensure that what, when, and why stuff of product management gets executed with how, which is being led by engineers, right? And if you understand how engineering works, then you'd be able to kind of deliver your roadmap faster, right? So this is like well established that PMs definitely need to understand how tech works, right? Now PMs definitely need to understand how classical ML works, how generative ML works, how you need to understand how linear regression, logistic regression, neural network, decision tree, random boost, whatever, XGBoost and all, and LLMs, SLMs, agentic AI, whatnot. There's like a lot of, because this AI, this space in terms of generative AI has also evolved a lot in the last 9 months, right? So if you keep on delaying in terms of upskilling, trust me, and I think, if you trust, if you put a hand on your heart, that AI is going to be definitely adopted in all the companies out there. It's up to you how fast you decide to keep up the pace, because if you decide earlier, you would not face a lot of competition, but if you decide later, then you'll have like a lot of parallel AI PMs to compete as well. Okay, this is like one way your technical acumen has to be improved. Second is data preference, proficiency. Earlier we used to work with like a lot of market research. So I'm not saying these would not stay. This would stay, plus this would come in, right? So now I think in terms of AIPM, you have to definitely keep an ownership and understanding in terms of how to build data pipelines, or how it is happening, how many features you're selecting for model training and all, and do you have like any biases in your data, and your data is inaccurate and all, right? So a lot of these AI level questions would be expected from you to understand, right? And then there are like risks that you have to also manage, and stakeholder collaboration would also change. Like definitely this is going to stay. And apart from this, since you're building a product which involves like a lot of modeling, you would also start collaborating with data scientists, ML engineers, AI researchers, and legal and compliance team. Would depend on the type of product or industry you are into, right? And product lifecycle, this is like, I have a next slide for it. I'll explain it from there. This is something I'll cover in a moment. Okay, this is like problem definition. So this is like this stage is going to stay, right? This is also in traditional PMing, right? Once at this stage, you're going to take a call as a PM. Okay, this problem is going to solve with AI way or non-AI way. If it's non-AI way, you go ahead and continue with your traditional product development lifecycle. If it has AI way, then you would think about, okay, data engineering, data, how do you collect the data, how do you train your model and all. And once you have decided that, and then you would start model engineering and training. Once your model is kind of built, then you would go ahead and do the testing and validation. And once that is done, then you would deploy and continuously start monitoring it and keep on iterating on the model, right? So if you're building AI features, this is roughly which is going to be your AI product lifecycle, right? Awesome. So this is something which I had in terms of how role is changing, right? So I'm going to take a quick pause here because we've talked a lot about, and after this point, I'm going to now talk a little bit about, okay, how this domain is changing in terms of like salaries, in terms of how interviewing is changing and all, and how can you keep yourself towards the pace of it, right? So I can take a couple of questions if anyone has it. You can write your questions in the chat. Sorry, in the chat. I'll take 1 or 2 questions only at this moment. So yeah. Please write your questions in the chat, please. If yes, would you share the link before? Okay, Rahul, I think we are, this meeting is also going through a transcript as well. That's happening in parallel. So we can share it later if we are sharing this recording in an open forum. All right. Awesome. Folks, if you have any questions, we are taking like 10 seconds quick break. If you have any questions, please drop that in the chat and I'll take 1 or 2 questions and then I'll move to the another part of the session. All right. Okay. So we have. Okay. All right. I'll cover these questions. In the meantime, I'm sharing our WhatsApp community link. Anyone who's not there, you can join that as well. 1 second, folks. Okay. Anyone who wants to? Okay. Okay. I think the first question is okay, recording. Okay, how much of an in-depth knowledge in the field of AI is required at the moment as a PM? Gen AI models, Gen AI models, ML, deep learning, etc. How much related to AI? So that okay, so you need to understand how AI has evolved, right? From 1950s, which is like from Turing test to generative AI. There's the previous decade was more about NLPs, computer vision, and similar technologies, RNN, CNNs, and all, right? So you need to understand like how AI has evolved, and probably from machine learning to deep learning, and then further to going deeper to advanced AI. So you need to understand like how previous model works, because there are a lot of use cases for which you don't need generative AI to do your work, right? For example, let's say you want to build a model to predict search pricing for Uber, right? So this is something which can also be done with generative AI, because literally generative AI can almost do whatever is possible on the internet or is available on the internet, or if you feed it the right data, because it is trained on everything which has happened previously, right? So yeah, if you want to build a model for predicting Uber search pricing, then you can definitely do it with generative AI as well. You can also do it with like previously or classical machine learning as well, right? But if you are, let's say, picking generative AI for building a model around search pricing, if it's not giving you incremental accuracy, and incremental accuracy means like something which is definitely going to matter a lot, right? Or which is going to kind of change the entire user experience in a drastic way, right? you would not be advising your data science team or your stakeholders to go ahead and deploy the same model on generative AI, because generative AI is going to be super costly, right? So at a PM level, you need to understand that for a use case, for a specific use case, would you be able to solve it with a classical machine learning, which was earlier generative AI or GPT 2.0, pre that, right? Or generative AI is the only way to do it. For another example I can give, let's say you want to build chatbots, right? So there are some chatbots which doesn't require to be built by generative AI, because if you give it a command, it'll give you and build you everything, right? But that is something, is it needed or not, right? That is something you have to decide. You have to take a call, because there's going to be a immense amount of costing. Companies like Microsoft or Google, they're laying off people in the numbers of like 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, because they want to save money so that they can build better AI models, because it's all about training on trillions of parameters, right? So if you are relying on those models, definitely it is going to add a lot of value. Yeah, and I hope that answers your question. Yeah, about chatbot, you can also build it like simple rule-based engine if you're like a banking company, wherein generally people have only six type of queries, or you can also build it like with traditional natural language processing as well, right? So yeah, it depends. How do you go about it, right? Awesome, folks. Hope that answers your question, Shivam. And of course, you also have to understand how LLMs are working, how transformers are working, how they're predicting the next word, how they're constructing the sentences, how to handle hallucinations, how to fine tune the models, how to pick the right LLM for your use case. If you go to OpenAI, ChatGPT, or Gemini, you'll see that they have 10 plus models. Why they have released 10 plus models, right? What is the situation when you would go ahead and create your own model? How would you pre-train these LLMs on your own data, right? How do you responsibly train them, right? So there's a lot of nuances of advanced AI if you want to learn. This is not an easy learning. It won't just be coming by reading 5 articles, 6 articles. Trust me, go ahead, start that. You would get confused, right? Okay, awesome. Now, now I'll go ahead and start the session, because it is going to take, we have to finish it like in next 20 minutes. So, all right, now just give me 10 seconds to go back to my slides. This interview question I'm going to cover in a moment, because I thought like I'll cover it probably in the end as well. Okay. Now, before going further and talking about interviews, let me talk about the salary shift, which is kind of core differentiator, and that is something which gives us a lot of meaning and a lot of motivation to pursue a career in this domain, right? So, see, folks, earlier the domain shift which was there in the market, it was about IITs, IIMs. Folks are drawing, I would say, 1.5 to 4x more salaries at a similar experience than the folks who are coming from, let's say, tier 2 domains. There are some champions who definitely make it through, but that's not the case with the entire industry, right? So that kind of shift was there in the industry, and it is still there. And IIT IIM shift is always going to be there, because that separates that top 1% minds of the country in one bucket versus others, right? That is going to be there. But then another shift is also in creation, which is AI product managers, AI growth managers, AI consultants, right? So if you are AI working professional and you are already in the career, the good thing is like you would not have enough competition, and you can command awesome salary. You can look at this next, Netflix, right? This is, I think, not an Indian article, but this is like they're offering 7 crore salaries, right? This is, and in Netflix, if you go ahead and check their average salaries in US, it is like 1 to 2 crores. They're at least offering like 3 to 4 times more than what they are generally offering in US, right? So at least that multiplier would still be there in Indian ecosystem as well, if you know AI at a deeper level, right? So that is the salary advantage of, and there's a new shift is going to be created in the market. One is definitely IITMs, that's separate. Within that, there'll be AIPMs, non-AIPMs, right? So if you know AI, you would be in a higher salary bucket or bracket. If you're not AIPMs, then you would probably keep on doing that traditional stuff of maintenance and iteration and all, right? But then it doesn't mean you are not critical. You will still be there, but then sooner I would say all the roles might start evolving, and why not compete for something which can give you, a decent amount of, take home as well, right? So that's one aspect. You can, if you're not believing me, go ahead and read on internet. There'll be, I would say, thousands of articles which is talking about how AI working professionals are commanding more salaries than any other professionals in the market. Okay, I'm going to share you another kind of job description of Netflix, right? Look at how many times AI has been mentioned. I'm holding on the screen for 10 seconds so that you read this JD properly. And apart from this is, of course, an MNC company, man company. They might mention for sure, because they're very early adopters to the technologies and all. I'll show you after this an Indian company JD as well, right? So that you would be confident. Now, this is something which is happening in India as well, right? So Just, yeah, hold on to the screen for 10 seconds. In the meantime, I'm sharing that another screen so that you understand how. Okay. I can't tell the name of the person who's giving interviews because, okay, I already have this downloaded. Where is it? Okay, it is. All right. Okay, I'm sharing my entire screen. I have to close my WhatsApp. Okay, that's good. Okay, I'm sharing my entire screen so that I can showcase it to you how Indian companies have also started adopting the AI as well, right? So this is the JD of Airtel, wherein they are hiring for product managers with AI knowledge. And this JD I have downloaded for July. So yeah, there's one way I could have planned for this, but then this is not actually planned. This is the real JD which is in market. Okay, so look into this. Data fluency, that's something I talked about, right? When I was giving you the bifurcation of traditional PM to AI PMs, then look into this aspect of, this is like, probably traditional stuff, but look at this stuff, right? You work closely with data scientists and engineers to build, train, and deploy AI ML models that enhance user experience and business process. Identify use cases where AI can drive automation, personalization. In fact, I'll show you one more stuff wherein in our advanced AI program, we don't only run 2 months of cohort, we also like keep on inviting various industry speakers as well. So I'll tell you about that as well. So stay up to date with the latest advancements in AML and best practices to solve business problems. This is in front of you somewhere. Airtel bhi yahan pe mention hoga. Ye Airtel ka hi logo hai, right? And this is like, you can find this probably in their website as well if it's still available, because this is relatively fresh. Last week they were having like hiring in bulk. They're still hiring. So there's no point in rushing and applying, because if you don't know this, then there's like decent, because we opened this role in our community because we were in touch with the senior leadership, and that's how this went through. Okay, yeah, this is like, you could see that AI mention is there. Another aspect I'll show you, which is like, we are, okay, I'll show you Luma, wherein I'll show here. Okay, I'll show this. Okay, so we are, conducting, we are, once your, this is over, once your event is over, once your cohort is over, right, then we keep on inviting industry speakers who keep on like talking about AI application in different industries. This is like one about building a voice interview agent. And there was another session that we are planning with, this is a community, learnings that we do. This is with, Sequoia. Okay, this is like, yeah, director, wherein, he's going to come and talk about, okay, how to build an AI recommendation engine, right? So, and these things would make sense to you if you know the foundations and fundamentals of it, right? Why I'm showing you this, because you need to find a way wherein you can stay updated with in terms of what's happening in the industry. So this is like something which is a real stuff happening in the industry. It's up to you if you want to ignore it, if you want to take your time to do it. There are a lot of folks who are already doing it. So yeah, ultimately it'll be in your bucket. So yeah, awesome. Now coming back to the last part of it. Okay, specifics to interview preparation. These questions would continue to be there because they are something which is going to, okay. See, one thing which is happening in the market, I would want to cautious all of you here. We have become a lot GPT dependent, right? Any problem that we probably face or someone gives us, we immediately go to GPT. GPT means not chat GPT. GPT is a generative pre-trained transformer. So all the LLMs are also known by that name. So you can either use Perplexity, LLM, Claude, and different type of similar models and all, right? GPT is a commonly known term that we use in product space for referring to text-based LLMs, right? So this is the habit that we are building, right? So when we are building these habit, one thing that we are, I would say compromising is our product sense and ability, because we are not thinking first, right? We are asking even AIs to think for us, right? Where the right use of AI, as we think, is like, you at least lay out that first level of draft from your end, and then you go ahead and use AI to critique it or use it like for reflection prompting to make your work better. But don't let it do it, because if you let it do it, I can guarantee you in 6 months of time, you would lose your product thinking ability, or it will be, let's say, a far less than what it used to be before GPT era, because you're now also training AIs to think as well, right? If you're training AIs to think as well, of course they'll start doing it much better because they're getting trained on 1 million users or 100 million users of data. So don't let GPTs at least do it. Keep yourself I would say relevant in the market with that. And yeah, in the traditional rounds, that is generally used to happen around product sense, strategy, execution, behavioral, and tech rounds. They are going to happen. Apart from that, additional rounds are also going to be there to check your AI acumen. I'll also share you a couple of assessments that you can go through to check like what is your AI fluency right now, or are you AI literate or are you AI expert as well, right? There are 3 steps of kind of AI kind of learning roadmap that you would want to have, right? Now I'll share you a couple of questions that you can keep in mind. What is expected from you in AI interviews? First, deeper understanding of Gen AI ecosystem. I've shown you in Airtel JD, right? Very clearly mentioned, right? You need to know how AI ML deployments work, how their models work, how to train the models, how to pick the right use case for a specific problem that you're solving, or how to pick a AI solution for across the product life cycle. That was already there in that JD. So I don't think you need any more I would say validation in terms of whether what I'm talking about is it industry relevant or not. You can definitely do your research, right? Okay, you should definitely be in the walk stage. You should know how generative AI works end to end, how LLMs and all those things that I've already talked about. And soon, once you start that, a lot of folks in the market are starting to learn AI and they are also AI competent. Then you have to, let's say, go from walk stage to run stage, and run stage would come in once a lot of companies in the industry have already adopted AI, because then you'll see that there are people who are already working in AI, right? Then you will face competition from them and also from the fresh folks who are now slowly moving from crawl to walk stage as well, right? You should be able to identify for a specific use case which model could be a good way to start. I've taken example of Uber search pricing. I've taken example of chatbot building as well, right? There could be another examples as well, wherein you can decide whether for this use case you should go with classical machine learning or you should go ahead with generative AI, right? And now I'll share you a couple of interview questions that you can keep in mind. One second, where is these? Okay. Yeah, I think these are some of the questions which could be asked. So let's say, could you walk me through how you bringing AI powered products to life from initial concept all the way to a successful launch? That's one way of question, right? When you're starting a new product, how do you go about defining its scope and pinning down the essential requirements with respect to AI, right? And how do you define and measure and success of an AI product, right? There were different set of questions as well which I had in the list. I'll show you. I think they're not here. One second. There's some slight change. Okay, I think it's there in the next slides as well. These are some of the most asked questions in the interviews, and then I'll talk about, okay, these are a couple of case studies that can help you understand the AI applications around predictive AI, classification AI, deterministic AI, generative AI as well, right? So, and a couple of questions which are largely we have noticed that been asked to our cohort members around, okay, how would you build an AI model to detect fake reviews? Your model, let's say, is biased against a certain demographic. What would you do? How would you go ahead and correct that bias in your model, right? For a recommendation system, would you optimize for a precision or recall? And of course, before knowing, okay, what to optimize, you need to know what precision and recall is, right? These are fundamental and basic concepts of classical machine learning, and definitely carrying towards the generative AI as well. How would you measure the success of a chatbot built with LLM? How do you define AI matrices, right? How would you optimize for variable cost of AI products? What product decisions would change if you're building a search engine powered by generative AI? Okay, this is the stuff that I've mentioned. This was asked in one of the interview, and that's what I showed you, right? One of our industry speaker would be coming and teaching, okay, how he has built an AI recommendation engine for travel industry, right? Now, coming back to the last part of the series, wherein I can mention about one question which was asked in Amazon PM interview like last 1 to 2 weeks, approx 10 days or so from today's date in past. So the question was, and I'm asking this question to you guys, and you have to tell me how would you answer it. And if you would want me to give you a direction, okay, how would I go about answering it, I would be very happy to do it, because I've been already upskilling in AI, so have a little bit of a head start, but it's not difficult for you guys to get that as well. Okay, so the question goes in. In e-commerce industry, there's a very common problem wherein users are ordering from these platforms and then returning the product, right? And the return is like crazy, as like in some platform 40%, 60%, and which is resulting into, I would say, huge logistics cost, right? So the problem statement which was given to the product manager who was interviewing for a normal product role was asked an AI question, which was, how would you build a model which can predict before user ordering a product, like, what are the chances of the user returning it? Makes sense? Everyone, is clear to the question? I'll again repeat it. Okay. You have to predict, right, before users go ahead, order a specific item or a SKU, right? What is the probability or what is the likelihood that they would end up returning it, right? So if you have to build this model, how would you go about solve? Forget about model. Okay, if I have to simply ask you this question, and let's say they've not asked mention about probability and all, you just have to identify if a user is ordering something, what are the chances that it'll be returned back, right? So how would you go about solving this problem? Let's take a 30 seconds break, not break, I think brainstorming time, and then answer the question. Don't jump to it, because it'll be difficult to kind of bring us give a structure to your question, right? Okay, how would you go about solving this question? Think about it. I have already okay, so whoever would be sharing your experience of this feedback, I have already created a guide in terms of how do you solve this question. So to all the folks who are sharing the experience in tagging product space, we will be also DMing you on LinkedIn this interview guide, at least for this question, right? Because there are multiple follow-up questions also going to ask. Okay, take your time, think about it. Like, let's think for a proper 1 minute. There's no need to rush to check user history. Okay, how would it work, Mahboob? That is important. Which model you would go ahead and build? Will train the model. Which model? There are hundreds of models in advanced AI, classical ML. Which model would you go and collect the historical data? And what would you do with collecting the historical data? How would you train it? Which model are you going to use? Think about it. There's no reason. I'm still here. I'm looking for a guide which I had solved like 2 days back, because we were covering this question in our advanced AI program. Just give me 1 second. I've almost found it. Cohort 5, C5. Okay, here it is. Okay, I got it. Predicting returns. Which model you would go ahead and pick it to solve it? The individual user returns history data to predict product. Sorry, to product return person. Okay, so I think you need to work on your grammar. These things would be that no. Neural network may be tracked. Why would you go and do neural network? You have to bring neural networks when you have to introduce non-linearity, right? In this flow, there's no non-linearity. There's a straightforward yes or no decision, right? Cool. Got it. So if you're asking random forest, then how would you go ahead and optimizing for precision and recall? This could be one model, could be applicable as well or not, right? I don't know. Linear regression. Linear regression is something which predicts numbers. But here, let's say you've built a model which is predicting like, let's say, number 100. So how will you decide, on number 100, you have to kind of, assume it as like the return would happen or not? Recurrent? No. Okay. Looks like we are now dumping all the words that we have known or heard of. Okay. K nearest mean is something which is used for classifying, right? When you have like unsupervised data, I think though, that is the model that you go at. This is more of a supervised learning that you would go through. Okay. So I understand you guys have not learned, and the idea is to tell you that this type of questions are being asked in the market, and you can check on Google or GPTs and all, right? You'll find that, okay, this is the level of questioning. Okay, I'll quickly share this guide in terms of showcase as in what is a step-by-step way for you to go about it. And there are further follow-up question would also be, because I'm not sure if I'm sharing it, it'll help you or not, because you don't, right now, I'm not sure many of you are upskilled and how these models work and all. Okay. And wish I have taken a lot of time and now thrown up everything. Okay, awesome. Yeah, could be one that way to go about it, but I am going to pick a simple way. So see, the first step is like returns are one of the costliest leaks in the e-commerce model. They impact inventory, logistic, customer experience, and profitability, right? So if you can build a predictive model that flags orders likely to be returned before they actually are. This empowers business to take early action, whether they are, so they can basically, this will have a like lot of impact on your cost prediction and all, right? So first you have to, there's a binary classification problem. You have to predict whether the order will be returned or not returned, right? So you can use logistic regression to start with. Apart from this, other machine learning models can also be used, which are like good for training on supervised learning, right? So let's say logistic regression is a very basic model which could be used. Apart from that, XGBoost and neural nets can also be used. And then you have to do the feature engineering. For you to understand how everything works, you need to know what feature engineering is. And then you would go about, understanding, how logistic regression works, right? And picking the right threshold also matters, right? See, many of you would have assumption that, if the probability is more than 0.5, you call it 1. If it's less than 0.5 is, you call it 0. But that is something wherein you've already assumed that the threshold is 0.5, right? But in actually fine-tuning in the industry, you have the flexibility to change your threshold as well, right? Why you're calling all the ones which are like more than 0.5? You can also call all the ones like which are more than 0.6, right? So there are like a lot of technical aspects of it, right? I'll share this to everyone who's sharing their experience of the session, and tagging product space and me. It just help us recognize that we are able to add a little value. So we'll share it. Why I'm not going deeper into that slide, because for you to understand how do you apply and how do you pick to the right way of solving it, you need to understand how that model works, and there's a lot of technical nitty-gritties at a no-code level you need to understand. That is something which is very, very critical. That's why I'm not going to the depth of it right now. Okay, and which screen is shared, right? Okay, here it is. So folks, this is it, what I had for you. It's great that I have almost finished in time. And any of you who wants to upskill in AI, I've talked, I think, a lot about what is going to cover in the market, depending on what is required in the market. We have a next cohort starting from 2nd of August. You can, this is like the critical slide wherein you can meet our alumni base, right? Who was like, we have Mohani, she's a VP of product at Citibank. We have, Ruchita, HSBC, Ravi Shankar is a GPM at Walmart. Pradeep, an ex-CIO of IndiaMart, is already part of our like current cohort of 5, which is going on. And then we have folks from Oyo, Silico, Walmart, Jio, like a lot of different companies. We have folks from, you can check the alumni base and the projects that they worked on. Now I'll quickly show you our website wherein you can do 2 things. First is, this is the screen where you can find about the program. But before program talking about, let's look into the important stuff, right? Go ahead, give your knowledge test. See how this is a very fundamental AI test that we have created. You would be able to understand how much of AI you know. If you think that you know 4 tools, you've read 4 or viewed 4 YouTube videos, and you are super ready in AI, go ahead, give this test. You'll have a reality check, right? And you are able to get 80% marks in it. I don't think you need to do and go through any programs. You can clear any AI rounds if you are able to clear this exam without any help. If you're taking any help, it's still getting the marks. You have to answer yourself, not to us. It's just like self-evaluation, because there are a lot of ways. Of course, you can look into GPT and solve these questions, but that's not something which is going to help you, right? So anyone who is like, wanting to upskill, look into this program. Everything that we have talked about: introduction to AI fundamentals, LLM fundamentals, fine-tuning LLMs, advanced prompting, content creation, gags, diffusion models, RAG, agentic AI, MCP. And now in the next module, we are also going to add ACP as well, which is a latest development in AI, which is agent communication protocol, if I'm correct by the formula, right? This is like, the way, how agents used to act and behave. And then responsible AI, practical applications. You can go ahead. You'll be learning 30+ tools from these industry stakeholders. These are some of the capstone projects which are created by our cohort members. You'll see that we'll be adding 10 more products, 10 more, I would say, capstone projects, which were part of the previous cohort as well, right? If you want to view any video of how this is like a testimonial of the folks who were part of the previous cohort, you can go ahead and read their testimonial as well. You can read, like, there are like bunch of them. Let's keep some, yeah. Apart from that, if you want to see the outcome that you'll be able to get after this program, is what I would recommend is you go ahead and watch this Advanced AI Cohort 4 demo day, right? And yeah, so in this, what you will see, I'll share the link in the chat. Link for the test, you can find it on our website as well, but I'll share this to you. Just give the assessments, not require like you give it now, only you give it when you're comfortable sitting properly, right? And whoever is not part of our community, I have shared that WhatsApp group link as well. join our community. We keep on doing these like free workshops as well at a regular level, so that you are at least aware what's going on in the industry. And we have ways to so one quick update in terms of, many of you would be thinking, okay, who would be teaching these programs, right? So I'll quickly tell you a couple of folks who are part of this program. One is Arun. He's already kind of part of AI team at Microsoft, wherein he's building AI solutions from last like 1 year or so. And then we have Harveen. Harveen is like, she's right now also in Microsoft, but then before that she was in Apple, Google, and she has like computer science from CMU. And then we'll have like applied data scientists and principal data scientists also being part of the program, who will be teaching it, because these are like subject matter expert knowledge and all, right? So you need to learn from the folks who are building this, right? And they are not like random folks. They're building, they're part of the companies and ecosystems who are building for the masses, for the billions of users across the planet, right? So we're going to learn from them. How can we connect with you? Okay, I'm sharing my LinkedIn or my number. If anyone wants to know about advanced AI program, you can DM me. Either I'll respond or someone from the team would respond. I'm also sharing my LinkedIn if anyone wants to connect with me as well, right? Course details I'm also sharing. 1 second. Okay, okay, the course is, just let you know, guys, there's a waitlist specific course. We don't allow everyone to join the course because we want to ensure that this is a close cult of working professionals who are also going to benefit a lot from networking. So in this, like there's a profile based shortlisting once you apply from the website. Please ensure you don't miss on your LinkedIn, because if you miss on your LinkedIn, you would not hear back from us. But if you're sharing your details, then our kind of admissions team is going to do a profile check, and if your profile is like the right fit for the program, then we'll reach out to you. We might reach out within the same day as well, right? And yeah, I think that's it from mine. Anyone has any questions? Now we can take questions, right? I generally don't go out of the sessions when the questions are still there, but I can stay for 5 more minutes. I know it's like we have hit 12, but I hope this session was like superb learning, and then you guys are able to understand a lot of things that we've talked about. Yeah, I can take a couple of questions which was price details of the course. Everything you'll find on this page only. I think our total pricing is 40,000 plus GST, which is like I would say super affordable in AI programs in the market. All the programs that you'll see, they're charging like 1 lakh, 2 lakh. Go ahead, do that validation and look at, I can literally guarantee and write on the paper, you'll find one of the best programs. And don't trust me, right? I will anyway say it, this is my job. Go and talk to the folks who have completed the program. Their details are on the website and they are from credible companies. And of course, go connect with them on LinkedIn. If you want to connect with them directly, DM me on WhatsApp. I'll help you connect with them as well, right? So do your research and then trust. And okay, I think till tonight we are running 20% discount on our AI program. Whoever is joining early for the August batch, they'll get that benefit as well. So yeah, you'll get all the exposure hands-on only. Product space in either PM fellowship or advanced AI, it's all about hands-on. That's why I have shared this YouTube video wherein, YouTube video, this one, right? Wherein, yeah, look at this. Watch this video, right? Don't watch and rush. See the depth of products that have been created. All the cohort members have created like end-to-end full stack products, right? And ideally, there was one product which was created with the name as Skill Hire HR Assistant. It is catering both supply side problem statements and demand side problem statement as well. Apart from that, there was one more extensive product about interior design. Look at the depth of those products. Look at their technical workflows and all, right? All the folks who are graduating in this program, they are able to build full stack products with front end, back end, tech architecture, API integration, databases, everything. You get one-to-one mentorship. Every session is full of practical and case studies, and then there's community learnings and then practical hands-on, right? That's why I'm saying here, see, theory सीख के आप क्या करोगे, right? Theory तो मतलब कुछ फायदा नहीं है ना theory सीख के. You would not know how to apply it and all, right? Okay. How effective was the growth None. I was already PM. I was just having but GrowthX program was good. I can't discount that. The program was really good, but I was already PM, and it would have been immensely helpful if I would had want to move to a growth role. But then it's still like those learnings that I had, it's still with me. So I would always vouch for the program and the community that I got from there. It was amazing. So how can we leverage the course we do for placement? I'm not sure. Nikita, which course you're talking about? GrowthX or product space? Because I'm not sure I'm authorized to talk on their behalf, but I can talk about product space behalf. So you can raise hand, like we can have open discussion as well. Let's not be sticking to chat only. Okay, Bhanu Pratap is saying, what all things are we expected to learn from the course? All fundamentals, or want to listen from you? See, everything that we've talked about, right? In this program, we're going to talk about how machine learning has evolved from 1950s, like Turing test, wherein the first time it was decided if machines are able to, kind of give an outcome wherein the third human can't distinguish whether it's a machine output or a human output. That is something wherein everyone has assumed that machine has got an intelligence, right? We'll be covering from there to how AI has evolved. We'll not go too much into 1950s to 2000 era because that was like too basic and all. It's like a lot of stats and maths, but then actual things haven't started happening, I think, after 2002 a lot, right? So we'll talk about that, how linear regression, decision trees, logistic regression, how they work, what their application is. Then we'll tell you how neural network works, right? How linear neural network is different from linear and logistic regression. What is RNN, CNN is, right? And how LLMs are working, how they're predicting. So everything that is required for you to be a master in AI, right, or closer to an expert, we will be covering in this program with practical applications. Not only practical application in sessions, you will be building the products. You'll be building these models. You'll be them as well, right? So, okay. Now, next question is, as a fresher in data analytics, can I would not recommend, Sarvesh, the advanced AI program for you. I would recommend that you first move from data analyst to product management. That is where you can check our AI PM fellowship, wherein you would learn a lot more about product management, product development lifecycle, product growth lifecycle, interview preparation, and all. Okay, someone has put themselves on unmute. Please put back on mute. Okay. Okay. I hope this helps. Now I'll go and pick next question. Will your team give mentorship? Yes, 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 yes. We give mentorship. We have in-house mentors who, whenever you have queries, you can always raise the request. They'll come on call. They'll guide you. How we can go about solving. As a BTech student, what should I be doing to get into this domain? Shlok, for you, I would recommend you look into our AIPM fellowship. This program is advanced AI is actually for working professionals, right? But if you are a student or early career professionals, if you're not in product, then I would not recommend jumping this program. It is recommended to jump on this program if you're already a consultant or a established growth person or a strategy person, or you are these like already in product management, any role, right? Because in product management, like there would be an immediate application of what you're learning in the course. All right. Can students join this? Most likely, I think I have to check like if admissions team would allow it. But first preference is for working professionals. But for students, I think we have a different program wherein we'll also be covering decent about amount of AI, but at a application level, not at a technical or a depth level, right? Because it would not be expected from students to just join the company and they'll be start doing heavy lifting. No companies give that, right? Will this help me make better dashboards? That is something you learn in one session. Dashboard creation is like 2-hour job. Will your team give mentorship for building projects? We can guide you. We will not be like doing hackathon alongside you. That's not our job, but we can guide you whenever you have queries in solving a specific problem statement. I'm a PM at Jio, running a very demanding workload. How much of dedicated time will this? I think Harsh from Jio. I think Bhavesh has already joined. If you can want to, you can check his feedback. Okay, time. We have 2 sessions on weekends. One is like Saturday, Sunday, 11 to 1:30 p.m. on both days. There's 5 hours of live learnings, and then on Tuesday 1 hour of community engagement. That's not learning session, it's more of networking with other industry professionals, because we have like a lot of seniors joining in our, right? So if you build network, that's always going to be helpful in building projects together, right? So roughly 6 to 7 hours of weekly commitment. 5 hours would be on weekend. Additional 2-3 hours would be required to do the assignment and all. Agar AI seekhna hai, to I would recommend ki you have to get out of the comfort zone, because as a working professional, finding that exact time is never going to come. All right. So, but I understand, like sometimes it could be hectic. So you can definitely prioritize that. But 7 hours is more than good enough. What we need is consistent effort, not like aggressive effort of 20 hours in a week. Okay. Time of the course, I've talked about timing. Will we get, no, we, in this pricing, it's unaffordable to give you the access to the tools, but all the tools that we'll be using, they'll be available on a freemium model, right? So you don't have to, directly pay them to use it. So that's something we ensure whenever we, refer any tools and product. Should I go with Bhanupada? It will depend on your goal. What is your goal? If your goal is like to become a better product owner or grow in a similar company, then go for advanced AI program. If your goal is like to become or go first in a full-fledged role in product management, then you go for AIPM fellowship. But go for AIPM fellowship if you're not sure that you know product management end to end. If you know product management end to end, if you know how to crack interviews, if you have network to help you with resume refining, one-to-one mentorship, then don't go for AIPM fellowship. Then go for advanced AI, because then you have to go for next level, right? Okay. Non-AI product manager with 8 years of, yeah, this program, Vidyavati, we have designed it for non-techie working professionals. There's going to be absolutely no code focus. There'll be a little bit of coding we'll have to do, because coding, that too in terms of API integration and setting up database modeling and all. And that too will have mentors to help you, because that much is required for you to take your full stack products live in the market. Yes, it could be. Yeah, a lot of startups who are coming in this market and they are getting funding, they are having AI roles for freshers as well. Help in other geos. It does help in other geos as well, because generative AI is not something which was built in India. This is like a global phenomenon. So you know how linear regression works in India, it is going to work the same way in Australia as well, right? So yeah. Any running discounts for IIM alumni? No. Advanced AI, no discounts actually. Whatever the website pricing is, that's like final. We won't be able to give any for the pricing discounts. Yeah. I'm dropping my number in the chat. If anyone has any queries, you can reach out to me again. Okay. How about the person who have 3 years of experience in sales now want to switch in PM? So Preeti, I think for you, the right program is like AI Product Management Fellowship, the first program that we have. And we've recently had one person who was in ICICI sales transition to product management. So that is possible. I think that would be the right program for you. Okay, awesome. Any more questions? Shall we close the session? Hope I was able to, kind of answer your questions to your satisfaction. Awesome. All right, I have dropped my numbers in the chat. Advanced AI versus fellow PMs. Vidyavati, let me see your previous question. Yeah, for you, advanced AI, Vidyavati, because you're already a PM, right? I don't, as long as you don't want to reskill yourself in product management, that's a different, question. But if you want, if you already confident about your PMing experience, then you go ahead and go to a next level of becoming a.
Yes, yes, I'm confident on my PM experience because
Yeah.
though there's no AI support as such,
Yeah.
but yeah, organically kind of organic PM
Yeah.
role is what I've been
8 years is
doing.
like good experience in PMing. Like I'm sure you've like touched on all the facets and all, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
would recommend going for advanced AI.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Harsh. Awesome. All right. Cool, folks. That's it. Hope this session was helpful and thanks for joining Product Space. Do join our WhatsApp community. I've shared the link in the chat. And thank you. Please give assessments on website so that you can check your knowledge. And keep following us. We keep on, writing a lot of free content, good content as well, right? Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you.